This episode is brought to you by HASA. Liquid is clearly better. Liquid chlorine is the highest purity, works immediately, has no added cyanuric acid or calcium, and it will leave your pool safe, clean, and clear. And by the Bottom Feeder professional grade battery powered vacuum system. It sucks to clean pools, so cleaning pools sucks less. Get $100 off with code DVB100.
This episode is brought to you by Skimmer, the #1 pool service software in North America. With Skimmer, you can streamline your schedule, grow your revenue, and keep your customers coming back with 5-star service. Whether you're a one-person operation or an established team, Skimmer is your partner in success. Visit getskimmer.com/poolguy to try Skimmer for free for 30 days.
The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show.
Hi, welcome to the Pool Guy Podcast Show. In this episode, I'm going to go over when it's smart to cut and run in your pool service business. What I mean by that is when is it time to stop and give up and maybe let the problem sit for a few days so you can think clearly, or when would it be a smart idea to drop a certain service account? Are you a pool service pro looking to take your business to the next level? Join the Pool Guy Coaching Program. Get expert advice, business tips, exclusive content, and get direct support from me. I'm a 35-year veteran in the industry. Whether you're starting out or scaling up, I've got the tools to help you succeed. Learn more at swimmingpoollearning.com. One of the characteristics of a successful pool service professional is that we don't give up. We're pretty good at kind of sticking it out, fighting through things, and we don't like to give up. And I think that also is a defect if you flip the coin over, because then we don't know when to quit. And this is something to do with boundaries in some way. Some ways we're kind of people pleasers when we're in the service industry. It's kind of natural to be that way. Everyone's probably heard the word codependent. And I think a lot of times we can be a little bit like that when we deal with our customers. So when to pull the plug is not all the time obvious to us. Our spouse may know better, or maybe another pool pro that you talk to. And it's good to bounce these things off of someone else. I think it's really essential to have someone in the industry to talk to. That's why I have this coaching group with the Group Me app where we can all talk and chat in there about different things that we deal with. You can also call me and text me one-on-one. I can walk you through certain scenarios. And it's really important to have those mentors in the industry to help you think clearly, because a lot of times you're not thinking clearly because we are driven to be successful and we don't quit. And that goes hand in hand and is something that leads to problems later. So let me go over some clear-cut reasons, or maybe not quite as clear, to end the service account or to move on from that. Now, there's a lot of scams out there. One of the biggest scams going around is someone who wants service and they haven't moved into the house yet. So they hire you and they send you a large sum of money. Maybe they Zelle over some money to you. And here's the catch is that, or they send you a check and the check will bounce later. But the catch is they try to get some money out of you. It's not smart to ever do an account without meeting the person in person. And if someone sends you a check, let's say you quote them service and they're going to pay you 6 months in advance, and they send you a check for double that. And then, of course, you put the check in your bank, and then they call you back saying, oh, I noticed you put the check in the bank, and I actually overpaid you. Can you Zelle me the difference, whatever, $1,500. And you do that, and of course, the check bounces or doesn't clear. It's one of those typical scams that's out there, and a lot of people fall for that. Or they'll do some other way of paying you and having you send the money to them as a refund or some way, and of course, you never see them again. So number one, and the biggest thing is always cut and run when you don't meet the customer. You never want to take on a service account when you just do everything through text messaging or email and you don't know who that person is. You have to meet the client and you don't want to go in there blind. So I've never been one to advise taking on any kind of service account where you don't actually meet the client. I had a group member that was doing a green pool cleanup back east on a pool. I think it was in Alabama, and he never met the client. He went to the account. It was a rental property, and there was all kinds of problems getting paid, dealing with problems, dealing with accusations of creating stains in the pool. And he's actually never even met the person, even to this day after all the messaging. And that's something that you don't want to do. So meet your clients. Don't take on anything without meeting the person in charge. If it's a rental property, at least meet with the property manager. But you don't want to do anything blindly because that leads to all kinds of problems. And a lot of times it could be a scam as well. Here's one that I know is hard to pass up, but this is something that is going to come back to maybe cause you to lose time out there in the field. You may get injured, and that's taken on account with a vicious dog. Now, it may not even be obvious that the dog is vicious, and it could be really annoying. I've had little dogs, like little miniature poodles and I don't know, some other small breeds. I can't think of anything offhand. I've had miniature schnauzers too, where they constantly bark all the time and try to nip at you every time you walk by them. They'll try to nip at your legs or your shoes. And it's really irritating, having the dog barking constantly at you, trying to attack you every time you turn your back on it. And it's a small dog. It's probably not going to cause you too much damage, but they may get a hold of your ankles, ankle biters, I guess they call them. And it's really irritating. I really don't like those accounts. Sometimes the customer will put the dog away, but it'll be barking at you constantly through the glass door or maybe on the side of the house. And it's hard to focus and concentrate. It gives you a headache after a while. I don't really suggest keeping those accounts. The dog technically probably won't tear you apart, but it is a problem and it does cause a lot of headaches when you service these pools, and you're going to kind of dread going to this pool with this barking kind of nipping at the ankle dog. You don't necessarily have to drop this account, but then you're going to be counting the days till this dog passes away. You're like, how old is this dog? Is it 8 or 9? Let's see, it's got like more 5 or 6 years left. I know that's a sad way of looking at it and thinking, but that's something that I've done before. It's like, hey, how long can this dog live? I can maybe hold out till it moves on. But the other flip side of that is the actual vicious dog, like a Doberman Pinscher, Rottweiler, Pit Bull especially. And I'll note Pit Bull breeds, some people love them, and I'm not any kind of hater of a certain breed. But most of the incidents that I've had have been with Pit Bulls and customers as well. I had a customer that had to put his own Pit Bull down because he was trying to take it to the vet to get it checked up. This was a big dog, and he would always lock it up when I was back there. And it seemed pretty passive. It didn't seem like it was a problem. It was friendly, and it wasn't a problem. But he was trying to put it in the cage one day in his kitchen, and the dog just attacked him and tore his arm up. He showed me his arm. It was like all torn up from the dog. Had him down in the kitchen. This guy was big. He's like 6'4", big guy. And he actually had to wrestle the dog to get away. And he put the dog down after that. So the dog can turn on you. Doesn't matter which breed. But I've had problems with that breed. I haven't really had any problems, believe it or not, with Doberman Pinschers, although they can be very bad. And I've had Doberman Pinschers on my route that were super friendly to me, but later I've learned one of them in particular attacked someone on a walk where they're walking by and trying to pet the dog. So, you never know when these dogs are going to turn on you. So if a dog is vicious and the customer says they're going to lock him up, there's a chance, and a good chance, this has happened to many guys and gals in my group, where they get to the pool, you're cleaning it, and then one of the kids opens the sliding door or back door or leaves it open, and the dog comes running out trying to attack you. Now, there are things you can do to protect yourself out there, just in case maybe a neighbor's dog gets in the yard. I've had that happen too. A broken fence and it tries to attack you. You can carry the dog dazer. It's a pretty good device that has an ultrasonic sound. You can carry a taser, and just that clicking noise will scare the dog away. Or you can carry mace, but by the time you get to it, it may be too late. So having one of those electronic devices is pretty good, but you really can't really rely on that. You just want to make sure that if the customer does have a vicious attack dog, a dog that's been trained to attack, and a lot of customers do have that in Los Angeles County, you just don't want to service that pool because chances are it's going to get out. The little dogs that bark and nip at you all the time, that's questionable. Use your judgment on that. I don't like them. I just don't service those pools. I don't want to be attacked all the time and you have to watch my back while I'm back there or hear the dog barking for 20 minutes. And it's something that you decide on. But for sure, the vicious dogs, I just would not service those accounts because there's going to be an accident one day and you're going to be the unfortunate victim. Let me switch gears briefly and talk about when to cut and run out in the field. Now, a lot of times we don't like giving up, and this is what I mentioned at the beginning. We want to solve the problem. We want to look good for the customer. So if you get to a pool and there's a problem, I'll give you 2 scenarios that I think you can cut and run at some point and maybe come back to it later or refer it out. When you can't get the pool pump primed, let's say there was something, they let the water get low in the pool and you get there and the water was maybe an inch below the skimmer, and of course the customer filled up the pool during the weekend. He may even message you saying, oh, you know what, the pool's sounding weird. It ran out of water over the weekend. It was my fault, and I don't think it's running right. And usually the customer won't turn the pool off, which is weird. So it'll be trying to prime for like 2 days or 3 days, and nothing happens. And you'll take the pump lid off, and sometimes you'll have the pump basket in it that looks like one of those African shrunken heads. You know, the pump baskets melted. I had whisper flow baskets that were like half size at that point because they got so hot. And there's a lot of heat generated by the pool pump, believe it or not. And what usually happens is that there's a melt on the threaded part of the inlet and outlet. You really don't notice it too much in the inlet, but the outlet maybe will have a drip leak. But there may not be any noticeable signs of a leak, and it just may be a lot of air in the line. So you try to prime it. You put the drain bladder in the skimmer, and you're trying to prime this thing, and it's not working. You try priming it from the spa, which is, by the way, a really good trick. If you can't prime it from the pool, put it in spa mode and try priming it that way. And it's not priming at that point either, and you're just having a lot of problems getting it primed. The time is ticking at this point. You know, it's 15 minutes. You're trying to get this pool primed. At that point, I would say just turn everything off and maybe go back to it on another service day when you have more time, or refer it out to someone. Chances are it's going to need to be replumbed at that point, the inlet and outlet, or maybe put new unions on, or it could have some damage to the pump itself. All this could be a possibility, especially if it's been running dry for 3 or 4 days and the customer didn't turn off the pump. This is a big problem, and you just don't want to waste too much time out there trying to solve it. It just ruins your day, and you can spend 45 minutes trying to do this, and you get way behind, and your day is just a frustrating mess of trying to catch up. Another scenario is something happens with the pool that's out of your control. They have the tree trimmers there, and they just totally destroyed the pool. They didn't cover it with a tarp, which a lot of them don't do, which I don't understand why they don't do that. And the pool looks terrible, and it's just a huge mess. Or the customer left the pool in spa mode all week, and the pool's turned, and it's gotten yellow, and there's algae everywhere, and it's just a lot of debris in there. Now, I would treat these pools with a time limit, and if you are smart, you would set a time limit of no more than 30 minutes at a pool when you run into a problem like this, and you let the customer know that, oh, you know, it looks like the tree trimmers were here. I'm going to try to get most of the debris off the surface. I'll have to come back next week to get the debris off the bottom. I just can't spend more time here. Unless you want a second service call, I can come back on Friday and spend time cleaning it up, but that'll be $90 for that service trip back out there to do the special cleanup. And just let them know that you can't do everything in that one service visit. It's really not your fault, and it shouldn't be something that you do. It'd just be like if you had a huge party at your house with 100 guests and you left it a total disaster, and then your house cleaner shows up on Tuesday and you expect her to like clean this place up. It's probably not something that you would do to that person. And so why would you expect that same treatment to the pool service company when you have the tree trimmer destroy the pool, or you forget to put the pool back in pool mode or leave it off all week? It's really not our fault, and it's something that's not part of the service that we are charging for. And so you don't want to spend an hour and a half at that pool cleaning up something that was not your mess, that was not created by you. And that's when you cut and run. Just do 25 minutes and then finish up the following week. Or if they want an extra service call, allow them to pay you for that. But these are situations that a lot of us don't really pay attention to. We'll spend so much time trying to get the pool running, or we'll spend some extra time there cleaning up a mess that really is not of our making. This is more than an irritation when a customer is always paying you late, missing a month, not returning your messages when you're asking for the payment. It's really annoying that you're doing all this work for somebody and they're ghosting you, they're not paying you on time, because honestly, you have to really budget your business with a certain percentage of late payers that are going to not pay on time. It may just be their personality. A lot of people just don't consider pool service a priority when they're paying their bills. And at what point do you stop a pool that has a chronic late payer? I would say I wouldn't go past 30 days. So let's say that you send the invoice for the month of March on March 21st. They don't pay you. It's already April 15th. By the time it gets to the end of April, which is a 30-day period, actually a little bit longer because you should bill a little ahead of time. Some people in some areas bill a whole month ahead of time, which is pretty smart. I usually bill around the 20th of the month to give them time to pay me for that month. But if you're getting close to the end of April and you're messaging the customer and you haven't got the payment for March, that's when I stop service immediately. I'll send them a message saying, I'm sorry that I haven't received the payment for last month, and unfortunately I can no longer service the pool, and this will be the last service day until I get the payment for March and April now. So I would like both payments to continue service, because if you don't do that, then you keep going into May, and some people even go into June, which is crazy, and then they're 90 days behind. And if they can't even pay you 1 month on time, there's no way you're going to expect them to pay you 3 months worth of service at that point now to catch back up. They just don't have the resources maybe, or don't feel that is something they want to do or is necessary. So I wouldn't go past 30 days. And if you go to 60 days or 90 days, look at it realistically. They probably can't catch up or don't want to catch up and pay you, and they'd rather just get someone else to do the pool at that point. And there's not a lot of recourse by you. It's hard for you to get that money back. You can't put a lien on their house unless you're a general contractor. And in that case, you have to actually go to court before the judge and file the paperwork. It's really complicated, and it's not something that you want to do. There are services that will file it for you, but they charge a lot of money to do that. And I don't think that's something that you would want to pay for. It's going to cost you more to file the lien in some cases. And again, the lien is not valid unless you're a general contractor, licensed general contractor, in California at least. So there's not a lot of recourse. You can go to small claims court, but then you take time off of work. And it's something that may get a bad review if you take your customer to small claims court. The point is never let it get to that point of getting to that late to where they have to catch up for 2 or 3 months worth of payments, which they may not do. Now, if you are installing equipment and the customer hasn't paid you for it, that's a pretty big problem. You can't take the equipment out that you installed because, once you install it, it's part of their property and they can actually call the police. And this has happened before in the industry. You don't want to cut out the equipment and take it back. And it's something where you should have got a deposit that at least covers the cost of the product, maybe not the installation, but getting a 50% deposit down before you start to work with someone you don't know. And this happens with regular customers, sadly, as well. You may be doing a pool for a year and a half. You put in a new pump and, it's like $1,800 or $2,000, and the customer just never pays you for it. And it's something that's sad. It does happen. So you always want to get a deposit, especially if you kind of feel like the customer is kind of shaky. You don't trust them a whole lot. It's one of those things that you want to do. I mentioned before that I had a general contractor that I worked with for many years. We even were in the same church group together, and we knew each other for several years. But whenever he did work for me, he would still ask me for that 30% deposit at the beginning. And he said, it doesn't really matter who you are. It's just my business practice. I always get the 30%. And that's kind of how you have to be with some customers. Not every customer on your route. A lot of them you can trust. I'm not saying that you should, be rigid. But for those that you're doubting, you want to get that deposit first. And for those you don't even know, if you're getting a call from somebody and they want something done at their pool, you definitely want to get paid in advance. A lot of times when you call a plumber or an HVAC company, they're going to ask for your credit card to get an initial deposit of, $150 or whatever, or sometimes they'll ask for a deposit of $80. And that's good business practice because they've been stiffed and they don't know you. And you may not know the other customer that's hiring you or the customer that's hiring you at that point. So you want to get a deposit before you do any work. All these are important aspects. And I think you should, of course, if you're getting kind of bad vibes from someone who calls you out of the blue and they want a new pump or filter put in, and you just feel like this person is not straight and you worry about it, because I've also had people that have been paid through PayPal and even through a credit card where that person reverses the charges. PayPal is notorious for doing this, where you can just say, I didn't get the service or this didn't happen, and then they reverse the money that was given. So just be careful that if you are getting a bad feeling about the customer or your kind of spider senses are tingling, just walk away from the install. There's no need to do it if you're not going to get paid for it later or have problems. And if the customer is being really picky or, being really demanding, I just wouldn't do the extra work or do the install at that point, because you may have nothing but problems afterwards. A lot of red flags, a lot of things to look at, and a lot of things to consider. And that's why having a mentor is always good also, so you can kind of run things by them and see what they would do in that situation. Looking for other podcasts, you can find those by subscribing to my YouTube channel Monday through Friday. I post one there. Or go to my website, swimmingpoollearning.com, and on the banner, click on the podcast icon. There'll be a drop-down menu of over 1,600 podcasts there for you. And if you're interested in the coaching program that I offer, you can learn more at poolguycoaching.com. Thanks for listening to this podcast. Have a great rest of your week. God bless. This episode is brought to you by HASA, providing products that deliver clean, healthy water for every aspect of everyday life. The bottom feeder battery-powered vacuum system, portable, powerful, and only weighs 12 pounds. And Skimmer. Get Skimmer, America's #1 pool service software. Podcast listeners can try Skimmer for free at getskimmer.com/poolguy.